When my doctor said I have prostate cancer, to beat this, I knew I had to identify who was I going to grow to become. I couldn't stay the same. Hi, my name's John. I want to tell you my story of when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and now, a little over a year later, I'm cancer-free. I always go to the doctor every 90 days to get blood work. And so I went in my 90-day appointment, got my blood work. I came home. Now, I don't live far from the doctor's office. And the nurse called. She said, John, the doctor needs to talk to you. And I said, well, what about? He says, well, there's something on your blood work he needs to talk to you about. First of all, that's something you don't want to hear. But I said, okay, I can be there in just a few minutes. So I went back to the doctor's office, and the doctor said, John, your PSA test is high. And I said, what's a PSA test? I had no clue. That's the first time he'd ever really tested me for PSA. And he said, that's an indicator of prostate cancer. So immediately I thought to myself, man, I got prostate cancer? He said, no, I'm not saying you have prostate cancer, but that is an indicator that you could have prostate cancer. Is there anything been going on? So we talked a little bit, and I told him I had a urinary tract infection this week. Could that have caused it? And he said, yes, it possibly could. So what we did is we took a urine test, and the urine test came back positive for a urinary tract infection. He said, that's probably what caused it. So at that point, we didn't worry anymore. But then 90 days later, I went and got another blood test or blood work. And again, it came back with my PSA extremely high. And he said, John, what we need to do is send you to my urologist buddy. He had a buddy, good friend who was a urologist. And he said, let him see if you got prostate cancer. So I set up an appointment, went to see the urologist, who's a specialist, of course. And they did something called a biopsy, where they take specimens to see if you, around your prostate, to see if you have prostate cancer. And they took the specimens, and then a few days later, they called me and said, John, you are negative. You don't have prostate cancer. So I thought, okay, I'll just keep going on with my life. About 90 days later, my original doctor had retired, so I had a blood work again. And this time, the PSA test was still getting higher. And my doctor said, John, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need to shut off your TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, because I had low testosterone. And she said, I need to have you go see the urologist again. Shutting off I was very motivated, because I don't know if you've ever had low testosterone. When you get testosterone replacement therapy, it changes you. It gives you more energy, you can build muscle. So I knew I wanted to get back on the TRT as soon as possible. So I went to see the urologist again. And he gave me another biopsy. But this time, the biopsy said that I had prostate cancer. I didn't know what to do. Originally, I just sit there and I thought, man, it's not what happens to you in life, but it's what you do with what happens to you that really matters. So the first thing that happened, of course, is fear. It can be overwhelming, because I never knew much about prostate cancer. All I thought was, I'm going to die. My family needs me. I don't want to die. I was 65 years old at the time, and it was pretty scary. So diagnosis, and then whatever you really focus on expands. And I was focusing on dying. So I knew I needed to change that. I needed to change my identity. So I said, okay, I'm an athlete. So they set up an appointment for me to see the urologist I went to. Had a really good friend who was a top surgeon. So I had to go see him. And so, you know, what I immediately did is, okay, what's the next step? I didn't want to focus on the entire future. What's the next step? Okay, I'm going to go see the urologist surgeon. This guy is going to be the guy that's going to probably take out my prostate. And I hadn't decided that yet, but I wanted to go talk to him. So one of the things I did is I started taking action. So the next day I started 75 hard. Now I'd done 75 hard 3 other times, but this time I knew I wouldn't be able to finish it. But I knew that that regimen and that routine of doing the 2 workouts and drinking the water and eating clean would be good. And another thing I did is I went and researched all the celebrities I knew, successful people who have had prostate cancer, and what they did and what the outcome is. And when I did that, it started really making me feel a lot better because there was a lot of very reputable people that have had prostate cancer that have lived a long life. And most of them that I noticed had their prostate out. Action cures anxiety. So I took action. I always focused on what's the next step. So 75 Hard, I started that. And then again, like I said, I researched celebrities and successful people and was able to see what they did. So I started staying calm. Whatever you focus on, again, expands. So I was focusing on positive things instead of negative things. I focused on solutions and not the problems. So I planned every day. I focused on what I could control. So I made sure I planned every day. I worked on myself. Who do I need to become? I am an athlete. And saying that I am an athlete made me feel better about myself because I knew that I'm an older gentleman, I'm an older guy, but this doesn't have to be a death sentence for me. So again, I completed 75 Hard daily, and then I went in and seen the surgeon, and we scheduled the surgery. Now, I don't choose the event, I choose my response. How do I respond? So the one thing I would tell you is don't focus on all the negative stuff. So if you go get blood work and your PSA's high, don't automatically go to, I have prostate cancer. As you remember, I had a urinary tract infection the first time, the second time. I mean, that was a span of probably over a year before I actually went in and got diagnosed. And I was negative all that time. So when I finally got diagnosed, I did 75 Hard. I researched celebrities. I researched successful people. I took action. Action cures anxiety. Again, you don't choose the event. You choose your response. I didn't choose the diagnosis. I chose who I was going to grow to become, which was an athlete. If this helped you, subscribe and comment. I'm going to share from when I got diagnosed with prostate cancer and to now where I'm cancer-free. So if this helps you, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you comment, ask me any questions you want. Have a great day.